down. That said, this is not the first time that we've seen STMN and Tribe face in the monthly finals, and we've seen STMN completely blow them out of the water in the past 3-0 style. Now, you say, though, that the toughest soldiers get the hardest battles. I think that Stamina have repeatedly had to face pretty much gauntlets if they want to make it all the way to a Grand Finals victory, which they have not managed to achieve this season just yet. Today could be the day, but this is only just where it begins. This is an incredibly vital match because it's really the prelude to whether they get the chance to knock out Luminosity and ascend to an LCQ qualification.
And it's a long off-season, right? These guys will be chilling for quite some time if they fail to make LCQ. Now, if they end up going to LCQ, not the end of the world. We've seen what STMN can do at an event of that magnitude. Last year, they swept the field and ended up qualifying for Worlds the hard way, yes, but when they got to Worlds, they were galvanized by the gauntlet they had run at that LCQ, and they made a brilliant run of their own, finding second place in the end, which was an incredible showing, really reminding everybody the power of North America, that a seed that wasn't even their number one or two could come through and make such a big difference. So here it's really about vibes. It's really about keeping the mood up and momentum going strong here, because STMN, straight off the bat, unless Luminosity stumble in the other quarterfinal to CT Esports and kind of let them over the line, they have to go basically in top gear straight out of the gates, Kenny.
If you're STMN, there's no other way to look at it. It's a must-win. Sure, the unthinkable might happen in quarterfinal number 2. You can't worry about that. Their job is one-fold, and that is to win the entire monthly finals. They've got to go all the way. This is a team that when they are backed into a corner, we've seen what they can do. And ultimately, when I'm debating between what is essentially a 50-50 for chat, like it was in my heart as well, we've seen what Stamina can do as an underdog, and that is a team I typically want to bet on if they're facing tougher odds.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen them overcome them before. This, though, is a challenge that falls much closer to home. Remember, Tribe to really secure their postseason potential need a strong showing here as well. They're not out of the woods yet. It's going to be Dueling Beetle's hot zone to start us off. Reddy's going to step aside and check out what's going on in the B stream. We'll catch up with him later, but it's time to drill down here. Probably the most important match out of all the quarterfinals on your screen right now, and like Kenny said, you at home at event.brawlstars.com are very divided on this one. Let's jump in here. We've seen Dueling Beetles. We've seen throwers abused pretty heavily by STMN, and Tribe love to play tanky brawlers on this map. We often see the Rosa for Zulan here.
This is an interesting lap in general to start things out on. I think it's going to be a tone setter for sure. Last time these two teams faced off, it was a sweep, a 3-0 for STMN, which is part of the reason I think why I ultimately side on STMN. New roster member coming in here for Tribe to see what happens. Going to be an Amber as a first overall selection. Such a good brawler in this game right now. I think a very safe one in that left or right-hand lane. Just aiming down sight, just an easy tap of the button. You can cover up the map, and here comes the big man on the other end. It's going to be Frank kicking things off. If you've been asleep, if you've been under a rock, don't be surprised. This guy is unbelievable right now in the current meta. And of course, his hypercharged super radiates in 360 degrees out from him, stunning his opponents. There are, of course, some unbreakable boxes here on Dueling Beetles, but you have to get basically entirely off the point in order to avoid being stunned up by that. Keep an eye out for that. STMN need to find a way to drag this Frank down before he strikes a lethal blow. And following him up here with Jesse, a great control brawler. Tribe have a very solid core to their composition. Don't mind this start at all. You got a little bit of everything. However, that is going to be a fantastic answer into the Frank. Arguably the best one you can possibly have. Now you've got Amber that can run it down a little bit, get a little area control. Obviously, it's going to take a lot to shred through a Frank. That's going to be Colette's job. It makes things a little more dicey with something like a spawner coming in from Jesse. Colette's going to have to take time to kind of shoot one brawler at a time, if you will. And if there's a fourth on the field, makes things tougher. But this 4-5 turn, I mean, it's a powerful one for STMN. I think especially when you look at things like the push it star power in combination with just the sheer firepower that Meg brings to the table. I kind of mess with this composition. I think it's a pretty strong one.
Yeah, absolutely. You do have something that can anchor on the hot zone itself and be really hard to shift. You combine that with a very strong side laner at Amber and an answer to the Frank. And here comes Lou. Can't ask for much more than a brawler like this who excels at that zone control through super and also the instant freeze on that hypercharge. That is a very powerful setup, of course, and let's not forget that Jesse also boasts a hyperpower that makes Scrappy nigh unkillable, especially to someone like Colette. Two very strong, very well-rounded compositions here, and it's so interesting now that with Frank not getting banned, we're actually seeing tanks get first picks because of how powerful he is. Tribe valued him. It does open Frank up to being potentially counterpicked, but is the Colette going to be enough?
I think it very well could be, but I think this Lube checks a couple boxes. Not only is it going to play the mode well, that's super going to cover that zone. It is a great way to nearly outrange, I mean, at this point, now that we've got a Meg rework, and to slow her down as well. I mean, becoming a popsicle is not something that Meg wants to be. Looks like to start things off, though, it's going to be Fade taking on the left-hand side, dueling against Sands. Bobby Zulon in the mid. It's an immediate win for Bobby here.
That is huge. No chance to set up a turret here. Super going to be used by Tyrant on the point, and Bobby just kind of eats that stun. Doesn't want to give up too much percentage. But STMN have a healthy early lead. Sands, though, does have to give up the mech to do this. It looks like STMN are priced into cycling onto the point here. Time to collect used just to clear the spawner. Not ideal for Bobby, but it has to be done. Now Fade can play close with Super at the ready.
No mech and no positioning. This is a scary situation for STMN with Frank lurking right there. Super being popped, not connecting, but does scare them off just a little bit. They have to make sure they're getting time of possession in this hot zone. Already a hypercharge on the right hand end. Tyrant shreds through him. Bobby looking to do the same on the other end. Zulon narrowly surviving, though, gets the pickup, and now Sands once again forced away. Great stop there by Tribe.
That is hypercharge gone now for Tyrant, but Fade has one of his own and he wants to throw it down. Zara's in danger. Needs to get away from those breakable walls here, and eventually Fade does get chunked down, but not before Sands is picked up. So the Frank's out of the picture here. Bobby needs to come forward. Pops the hypercharge because he knows he needs to capture up on this capture percentage. Now it's built the super, but the hypercharge has already expired. Has to use time to collect just as Scrappy gets thrown down to avoid the slow that would have come out from the gadget use. And here comes Stans, now taking some space with that super swing. A huge amount of damage, and in behind, Bobby comes to put Stamina back in the lead.
The second life getting Sands so much value there. Stamina now with 3 members on this hot zone looking fierce. Fade is going to have to get real up close and personal if he wants a chance. Zulon without a super. Tyrant without a super. This is troublesome for this side. Here comes the hypercharge. Does get the double stun. A takedown on the Bobby, but they need more. They're climbing to 90%, and now Tribe with an opportunity to respond.
Somehow Fade was able to walk away with that alive, and it was a pick-off on Bobby for STMN. Zar here pops the gadget, trying to affect Fade from the other side of the wall, and he's able to bring that Frank down. Zulon's in trouble. Time to collect. Takes him quite low. 95% and counting here for STMN, and Sands and Bobby are chilling. What an opener round. Such powerful comps, and both these teams are here and ready to play. But STMN feel like there might be a bit of destiny in the air.
It's a team of destiny kind of vibe for them for sure. We've seen it in years past, and I think that's a great opener. You want to settle in. This is a family kind of environment with these fellows. They've been together for a long time. I think I can see Bobby playing his hype music on the phone a little bit. That's something they love to do, and just getting in the mood. Acting like it's another day in the office, I think, important, and getting a good opening game win against a strong opponent who played quite well has to be a good confidence booster.
Straight back into it here once more. Sands, what's the matchup against Fade? He's knocked down a mech, but is still able to use that pea shoot at a good effect as Zulon gets collapsed on. A much stronger start here for STMN. Bobby and Sands ready to rumble as there's another time to collect available.
This just goes to show how good Sands can be on this brawler. Meg is something with that second life, just charging at Fade because of the star power choice. Knows he can run it down and do extra damage even if he's removed from that mech. Now they've got the flank going. Tyrant with good shots though. They need a lot more though. They're down 40-5 and they're gonna have to do something special to make a comeback.
Gotcha gadget pop there for Bobby, gives him the durability to hang on. That is, like you mentioned, a very healthy lead. Sands though can't quite walk out of that super and gets caught by Fade, whose fire rate at that low health is frankly terrifying. Zar needs to juke a little bit here. Gadget pop, got to be caught inside though. That hypercharge power from Zulon and frozen instantly. Sands just touched it for an instant and was frozen solid as well. Bobby has super available, looks to try and pressure Tyrant down, but didn't really get much purchase there on Tribe.
This is unbelievable positioning coming in from Tribe. They've got so many mechanisms to take over, and now that that right-hand wall is opened up, this changes things a lot. It's going to be a much more wide-open fight. That Lou Ice Rink not being used for the inside. It's going outside. Gadget popped, swiping away. Fade grabs one, goes down on the second try, though. The flamethrower from Zar, just enough. It's going to push Zulon and Tyrant away here, too, and now they're out of utility.
And they're going to catch up. STMN now even at 64% each. Hypercharge available here for Bobby. All of STMN get out of that Lou super. Fade going to get brought down, but Bobby not lucky enough. Even with the shield coming off the super, still is brought down. But no one's on the point right now. Zar's going to get stunned up, and Sands is going to step right in, but only for a couple seconds. STMN might need to start cycling ballers here onto the point to keep this going. It's a narrow lead, but it may dwindle if Bobby gets taken down. It's a big super, but Fade is still standing with hypercharge available.
This battle between Ice and Fire has been interesting the whole set. Right now, it's advantage Tyrant. Ice Rink on the ground. Sands just trying to avoid it. Zar tiptoeing his way forward, creeping along this hot zone and popping a gadget here too. STMN trying to anchor themselves down on this.
Here it comes.
Zulon popping a hypercharge too. Fade with a takedown as well. 10% lead. Turret on the ground. Zar overwhelmed at this point. They still have to find a way on top of this though.
They've got to get rid of Scrappy. He's such a problem. Bobby even using the super to try and get rid of him, but Sands is still standing, albeit out of mech. Another hypercharge there for Tyrant, but that super doesn't catch on to anyone. Now it's even again. STMN have got themselves into a slim lead, and Bobby needs to avoid those shots coming in from the Jesse. Fade with a super. Would love to let it go, but Zara is respecting it. Spacing out from the Frank and brings him down. Now STMN throw themselves on the point. They realize they might just have gone and done it. Unbelievable STMN. What a way to start this series. Take the first set in straight games, but my God, it was close. Coming up for your second map, that's right, we're headed over to Gem Grab here. Colonel Ruff's instantly banned out by Tribe. He actually has a 76% win rate. Absolutely ridiculous. But a couple of those nasty brawlers are still online. Sandy, obviously available to be picked up here. Surge, though, being prioritized.
Wow, this is an interesting one. So at monthly qualifiers, this is one that got a decent amount of love, one of the more winning brawlers. Had about a 53% win rate, but in terms of frequency was actually pretty up there. Had a pick rate of 18%, which believe it or not is pretty high when you look at the sheer amount of brawlers that we have in the game right now. This is a first overall pick is interesting to me, and I think on the other end, we're going to see them go Gale for a little bit of grabbing an anti-tank option of their own.
Something a little bit more defensive. This is the kind of map where you can, of course, get some nice stuns off that super, and now with that hypercharge available to Gale, he has been really popular recently. Frank got to be picked up alongside him here. Oh, buddy. Yeah, I mean, Lily's also open. I want to point that out. Rico obviously banned out, another one of the most banned brawlers on this map. Basically, every other time we see a Hard Rock Mine, he's banned. Still some powerful brawlers on the line, though. Max still an option. Colette has to be the answer here to the Frank. I mean, you have to have seen this coming for STMN.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, they grab the Gale, and then they're going to pair it with something that traditionally Gale is going to counter. So they kind of want to take that combo, right? They want that synergy of having what's arguably the best way to stop Frank alongside him. Colette, though, might be just as good of an answer for shredding. Gale, the one benefit that he has is he's got a hypercharge that can stun rather than push back or what have you for Colette. It's going to shred through Frank, but I think Nita is kind of a great answer into both of those brawlers. You're going to see the extra spawner in Bruce the Bear along with a hypercharge and 10,000 HP. I've called him a mini Frank a lot of the time. That was long before Frank was the meta brawler that he is now, but nonetheless, just having 10,000 health points barreling your way is crazy. I don't know if it's as crazy as seeing a Dynamite here, though.
that is absolutely absurd. Yeah, Hard Rock Mine, not exactly the map where Dynamite is commonly picked here. Nita, though, very, very solid at 63% win rate and picked in 1 in 4 games at the moment. So Dynamite picked up here, huge amount of burst damage available. This is still a relatively tanky lineup for Tribe Gaming. We've seen how powerful like the faux fur bear with me combo is in general. It's very hard to take Nita down when Bruce is getting to work, but STMN do have a lot of mechanics to keep Tribe Gaming at arm's length. I don't know if they have the safest mid option here. I have to see now. Zulai will be the one to step up, of course. It's going to be Sands taking that mid role. Already plenty of poke damage coming in from the Colette that outranges him, frankly.
One benefit of having Colette in the mid, too, is if you use that super, you can dive in and out for Jim. So if you're kind of at that 8-9 threshold, hey, scoop up that last Jim nice and safely, walk it on back. Right now, though, complete control for Tribe. The dive in from Tyrant as well. Nice takedown. Bruce the Bear putting in some work, and Tyrant with a getaway option there, too. What a clean sweep.
Yeah, Satchel Charge had to be used there by Zara on that Dynamite, and it still didn't save them. This is already a bit of an issue for STMN here. Bobby got kind of farmed, moving down that left-hand side. Tyrant getting free damage and also free supercharge to give him a pretty elegant way to dodge out of a potential stun from this Frank. Tyrant really not bothered at all by Bobby. He's trying to make a bit of space, and there it is. Super used, dodge the stun. Tyrant finds another elimination.
Tyrant, even though Frank did have that gadget, it didn't move him, but it was low enough HP to where Tyrant could get the finish pretty easily. A tough situation there, and Tyrant doing a great job of utilizing Surge as a way to disrupt Frank. Waste gadgets makes things easier in the long run. There's that application of the super that I was talking about earlier, though. Zulon just diving in. Easy 2 gems to claim for himself, and now he can sit back, relax, and just continue to hold on to this lead. Yeah,
dual purpose, right? Safe mid, good gem retrieval abilities, even if they're on the other side of the map, and of course, a great answer to that Frank in terms of dealing damage as a percentage of a brawler's maximum health. Bobby has a lot of that. Here come the shots. Bobby really trying to put some pressure down, but Bruce is going to be a bit of a wrinkle in this plan. It's going to require Bobby's attention for a time. Zulon went low there as the Gale Force came came in, but he's able to dodge away with that time to collect. Zar hanging on here, has a super available, but can he even get close enough to use it? You better believe he's going to try.
And Zar now flanking, fires the super, no connection.
Oh my god!
Sweep him away, clobbering his way down the other end. Now a rush to the other side. Shot clock available, and now they're gonna have to make a turnaround. Zar has the hypercharge ready though. Big boom goes the dynamite. There goes Surge as well. STMN have stolen every one of the gems right from Tribe Spawn.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Slowly, they take that map control. Look at it here as it plays out. Zulan at 9 gems. Bobby comes in, hits the damage, doesn't even need to stun. There's just nowhere for Tribe to go. And he knew that 5 gems was enough as Sands had 5 of his own. And here is that hypercharged dynamite super. Bam! Fade gets absolutely clapped.
That was unbelievable. I mean, Stamina were down the entire duration of game number 1, and that's just the magic of gem grab. Sometimes you just got to be the best player with 15 on the clock, and that's exactly what happened there. We didn't see a lot of value from Dynamite that entire game, but right at the end, sure enough, hypercharged super, not 1 but 2, just enough to get them the other way.
Still a tough matchup for Bobby against that Surge, whichever way you slice it. The fact that Zulan is collapsing onto that right lane and pressuring the Frank further makes it very, very hard for STMN to take any map control here. Fade is playing aggressively on the left side, dodging those carrots. And Bobby again just has to run it down against this Surge.
Chef Mike on the back lines alongside Sands here. The untraditional mid of Gale, it hasn't seemed to let them thrive into something like a Colette so far, but that stun is going to help a ton. Now Zulan low HP. They don't focus this though. He's actually going to get away with this. Pops a gadget, re-heals a little bit, makes the connections, and Zulan able to take advantage of a little extra life.
I'm telling you, this feels awful right now for STMN. They have to find a way to make this work. Bobby here pops the hypercharge just for the raw speed stat, but still can't close it on Fade, who of course now has a very big Bruce to deliver FedEx in Sands' direction. We'll try and back away. You can see that Bruce is as big as a full health Frank and eventually does get brought down. So has a super that can take someone by surprise, but Tyrant is such a menace. He's so dangerous on that right side, and Bobby can only look on as Tribe walk away with the bag.
Tribe in game number 2 doing a much better job of this in-game scenario. They had an exit plan, right? They weren't rushed away. They weren't forced into a corner. They got one takedown, worked on that left-hand side, got the last couple that they needed. Safely acquire those gems, hold on to them, and by the end of it, there weren't enough time in the respawns for Stamina to travel all the way down the map this time. They didn't even give them a chance to make the pop-off play. Stamina are capable of that. We know that. We just saw that. We gotta see Tribe do the exact same thing. Just apply that pressure for an entire game and just squeeze it out of Stamina.
I think it's pretty clear to see that a Tribe just keep a level head here and play to the strength of their composition. They really shouldn't be losing in this matchup. Dynamite and Gale looks pretty darn awful against this setup from Tribe Gaming. And see, as Livy there in the background still getting involved with Tribe Gaming. Sure, there's an extra head there to make some calls and extra pair of eyes on the game.
The good news for Tyrant is even at tier 1, Surge not the greatest brawler, but into a Frank, I mean, that's kind of the dream, right? You can just skate on by, get a couple tags. Right here, you can see he's already at a super. He's gonna have to force Bobby to waste a super, a gadget, whatever it is. He can just time this right and jump. Zulan with the follow-through as well. This time a little bit better lead for STMN, but I think map control still probably gonna lean towards Tribe.
So I had to use a gadget there to secure the kill on Fade, but that's pretty important. Now I can start to pinch a little bit more in Zulan's direction. Tyrant almost falling there to some of that dynamite, but Bobby is frankly feeding right now, and there's not much he can do about it. Zulan and Tyrant are brawlers that are specifically designed, I guess, to deal with what Frank can do, either dodging away from his stun if you're the Surge, or just chunking him down in huge amounts. There's that hypercharge time to collect, doesn't really catch Bobby fully, still brings him low enough now to zone him away, but Sands quietly has been picking up these gems, now it's 7.
Zulan has done an excellent job of playing Colette. Obviously, it's a great matchup into Frank, but I mean, just landing the normal shots. I mean, he's hitting Sands, he's tagging Zar, he's landing supers, doing everything in his power to make this work, but somehow Stamina are still hanging around here, despite Bobby maybe having a harder time. Zar, Sands on the other end are doing a good job with their roles.
Bobby's trying to get past the indestructible boxes here, but he catches nobody with that hypercharge. Fade's able to get back around the box, and of course, Tyrant was able to use that invulnerability frame from that super. Bobby falls yet again, but STMN are up to 10 gems, and Tyrant can only look on. Sands just walks away. Tribe don't have enough time to get these gems back. They've got to go all in, but they've got to get through a Frank to do so. That seems brutal.
What a dodge there from Zulan. Lobs up a shot. Not enough to disrupt things, though. It came down to the
You're kidding.
robbing a bank. but STMN come away with the set.
There's no business winning that set there. Bobby is instinct the entire game, saying, so let's jump in here. It's match point for STMN, and they have banned the Amber, the Gale, and the Melody.
This is really interesting to kind of see who, you know, a lot of the times you can kind of get a vibe for who has that first overall pick. Obviously, our graphics team does an excellent job. We know immediately, but just from the guessing game, pretty similar stuff on both ends. Double Amber, you see Melody, you see Chuck, a lot of powerful brawlers in this band stage. I think Colette has to be one of them, given her place in the meta into tanks and also just how good she can be for this game mode. Meg, though, easily one of my favorite brawlers, if not one of the better brawlers in the entire game. I think she's just so strong right now since this rework. The closer you can get, the more lethal she is. She's not necessarily that long-range brawler anymore, but talk about a powerful presence.
Absolutely. The moment you start to let her walk up on you, you're going to know about it. She's also pretty effective even when knocked out of mech. So, you know, there are a lot of game modes where, you know, it's really important that you stay alive as an individual brawler. That's very important there. Less so here, but having someone that's very hard to shift from the middle part of the map is going to be important. Tyrant's going to give Tribe Gaming that all-in potential. Also the ability to circumvent defenders and go after the safe. A timely tailspin. Also just his primary fire, right? If you stand between, you have the safe between you and the top or bottom of the map respectively, the travel time of your pickaxe is much shorter, which means you get it back much quicker. Same idea as Charlie works on basically. So definitely a pretty decent safe attacker. The Colt comes up here for Sands, and this is a bit of an old school pick as far as this map's concerned.
Yeah, we're getting some classic Brawl Stars kind of picks here. I really enjoy it. And Colt, fun fact, it was actually the second most wins in the monthly qualifiers on this map in particular. Only had about a 50% win rate, but his pick rate more than half. It's kind of wild to think about that. Colt shows up more often here at a professional level than he doesn't. And they're going to pair this with Bobby's favorite brawler right now, the Cat making an appearance. It's a really interesting map to kind of pull Kid on. Heist isn't the #1 mode or candidate I would really have him showing up on.
Yeah, it's definitely curious. Obviously, Kid's pretty vulnerable when they're not attached to a friendly target. And yes, there is a potential, of course, for Zar, or maybe less likely Sands, to become superpowered after that Kid Super comes in. Frankly, the Kid Super used offensively is pretty good for securing some of those eliminations. It's the fact that it holds someone in place and allows them to be brought down quickly, which is very important. The Nita again prioritized once more for Tribe Gaming. Not the first time we've seen it this series. It was effective even in a losing set here. So it's a decent way to round out their composition.
Should be a fun one for both sides. Tribe Gaming with an old school kind of brawler feel to it and a little newness on the side of STMN with Kit and Meg. This one's going to be an important one. I mean, it's set number 3. STMN can bury Tribe right here, right now. Keep their playoff dreams alive. If not, Tribe is not a team I want to keep in a match. This is a team that I want to get rid of as quickly as possible. It's been some close calls for 2 sets. We'll have to see if Tribe Gaming can bounce back here in set number 3.
Bobby gets up close to Fade, instantly builds that super and jumps on him. Tyrant now realizes he's in a 2 versus 1 with Sands just pressuring him down. And while Eslivy's been able to keep Zar at bay, the rest of the map for Tribe has collapsed.
Mid control completely in STMN's favor, and now a bounce onto Sands. A powered up mech is the scariest thing maybe in the game right now, but it's going to send Carl the other way. He's not worried about this, trusting the teammates to play some defense here, but the shots from Sands, very powerful, damage going through, and they finally back Bobby away, but at what cost? They're down below 50%.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the attempt for Tyrant to trade back some of that safe damage, and it was admirable, but not quite enough here. Fade a little bit low, caught in the middle part of the map. It's going to be a trade of eliminations between those brawlers as Sands brings him down, and now Zar gets some time with the safe. That super being available, this huge silver bullet even used, going through Eslivy, pummeling that safe down to 24, and again, the Kid Super comes out. This Meg will be an issue. Fade desperately trying to push them back.
Tribe just needs some semblance of control right now. STMN has been overrunning them. They sent Carl at one point, but the defense not enough to take on 3 brawlers, or if you want to call it 2 with the powered up Meg on the other end with Kid on the back of him. Sure, but nonetheless, it is still a difficult one here. Finally, they got a little bit of control here in the middle of the map. They've got a long road to go, though, in terms of safe damage.
Bobby trying to avoid this damage coming in. He's pretty squishy at the moment. Having to jump on Fade, though, and that is a free instant kill here. That's the power of Kit, folks. Gonna be a flying hook and dive forward now with the tail spinner. Zar is pressured down by Tyrant. He's now gonna look to work on the safe of STMN, but Tribes is down to 11% and counting. Barely standing, held together with Scotch tape at 7%. STMN have a massive lead.
This is a difficult one, to say the least. Fade now, moving down the left-handed.
Hang on.
Firing from the middle of the map. Tyrant working. Fade stunned. Bobby, 100 HP, survives, but Tyrant's flanking. 5%.
One more.
Firing from downtown. Connects, and Tribe's done it. A game win there. Unbelievable.
And that's the power of that Tribe composition. As soon as there's a stumble from STMN, as soon as all three brawlers from Tribe can start to focus down on the safe, that lead that STMN built up through most of the round vaporizes instantly. Tyrant able to fight, put damage down on the defending brawlers, and also harass the turret with those boomerangs. That was so important in those last few moments.
It's clear the wall break part of the strategy here for STMN. The invisibility from Bobby is an option, but they're going to sniff him out pretty quickly here. Is Livy going to be able to pick up a kill there? Now Sans working this right hand in. Fade just trying to charge a super, because otherwise Nita's not going to do the most on that Heist save. And they really benefit from having a fourth brawler on this map.
Bobby here wants to dive in. Fade caught out, and yes, there was enough follow-up damage to at least turn it into a 1-for-1. Zar able to break open that wall there, allows him to deal with the damage booster. Nice and easy.
Now STMN back on offense a little bit. Not as much damage output so far, I would say, as game number 1. But Colt, Kit, and Meg got to find a way to the other end right now. Tried with a quick burst of damage last time. It was enough for them. This is a composition that needs Zar to get to the other ends, needs Meg's firepower to work it. And right now, they're just not winning in the kill-death category at all. That's another team wipe for Tribe.
Yeah, and look how much damage it's converted to. 58% remaining on STMN's safe here. Bobby has to walk up and try and have a decent idea of where he is, even though he is invisible. As Livy able to burn him down awfully fast. STMN needs to try and find a way to gain some mid-control. It's half a Sans, there's no cover to hide behind, and as Livy thrives in situations like this, where there's no one to really outrange him, it has to be a bullet storm there for Zar. Tyrant will fall to the extra damage from Bobby, and now Zar at least can pressure the safe, but Bobby can't do that.
STMN got a hold on here for at least a minute. Sans back in action. Bobby diving in, connects with Fade. That's a team takedown there. Tyrant on the other end, though, putting in work. They've got a huge advantage. They can't allow Carl to kind of break loose here. They're fighting a huge deficit. They are not in the spot where they can give up any kind of offense. And now Fade's rushing them down with an extra brawler. A healthy Bruce the Bear sprinting down Sans. Zar helps out, but nonetheless, it's just taking time off the clock here for an STMN comeback. 30
seconds left in the round, and STMN safe has been chucked down consistently. Wave after wave of attackers have come in. Bobby able to help get rid of Fade pretty quickly. This time there might be an opening here for STMN, but still for Kit, it's so hard to safely walk up and damage this turret. Tyrant bullies Sans as he gets kicked out of the mech, and it's only great shooting from Zar that stops the Carl before he reaches the turret. But we're running out of time, Kenny. There's 10 seconds left.
This is a tough one. STMN really need to fire down at the safe, but there's a huge gap between them and the other end. Zar gonna throw down some bullets. Sans letting it rain now. 1 second to go. Can't quite get there, though. Tribe Gaming put a set on the board, and it feels deserving after how intense this match has been.
Between these two, it's all about that rivalry being renewed one last time here, at least in our monthly finals. So over to Bell's Rock. It's time for knockout in this 4th set.
This is the map I more would have expected. Kit and Tribe knows what's good for him. They know how much Bobby loves this brawler in particular, how strong Kit can be in combos with other brawlers, and they're just going to remove it outright. It was actually the most popular ban in our monthly qualifiers. Lily has been interesting at a professional level. It felt like she was banned a ton at those qualifier stages across the board. Haven't seen her a ton this weekend. Even the ban stage, we're not seeing her sometimes, so kind of interesting to see players adapt since then. Meg makes sense to me. I think Gray is a little bit of a bold call in the sense as a first overall pick, it's safe, but he's not a top OP kind of brawler, if you will. He's going to do well in those throwers. He's got the dimensional door, got the walking cane. I still feel like this is a bold call as your first overall pick.
I think having the ability to collapse on one of the other lanes here and take a quick 2v1 with the dimensional door is going to be pretty important on a map like Bell's Rock. But this is a very durable composition from Tribe Gaming. I don't know who you're diving on here and picking off instantly. Buster to follow up the Meg. Not only it's a lot of health pool, but also great utility in the form of that montage. And again, Buster doesn't have to be in the thick of things to build that super up. So Bobby decides it's time to go for a good answer to these shorter range brawlers and picks up the Piper.
I really like that combination for Tribe Gaming, but it's nice to see kind of an iconic look to STMN, right? If you're going to go down swinging, and we know what Bobby can do on that Piper. We know what Zar can do on the Piper. I think an underrated sharpshooter in general, and they've just paired two excellent ones. I love the choice of a thrower here, though, and of all throwers, if you can't have Barry, this is a pretty good one. I will say, though, they did
have Barry
out there, correct, which is kind of weird because usually it's in the totem pole. In most maps, it's a Barry at the tippy top. You want Barry if you can get him. He's just so powerful right now. Larry and Loria are very good in this meta. If you're going to play into tanks in particular, the thrower of choice might be Larry Loria because of that extra spawner, the reverbing shot. There's a lot in their toolkit that actually does quite well.
Yeah, again, having the the Lorry spawn in here for Larry is very important against those brawlers who really want to get up close and personal. It's going to be Sprout, though, instead. The thrower option here for Tribe. Okay, you know, I guess even with Berry on the table, they really think that being able to, again, shut down one of these lanes, block them off with a hedge to neutralize one of these sharpshooters is the most powerful way to approach this.
Fade joining the fold kind of gives them options, right? I feel like this is going to be an Livy specialty with the Sprout pick coming in. In the past, he's kind of been that brawler. I think we could see Fade play a Buster. I mean, he's a phenomenal tank player in general. But I'm curious, you know, all three of these guys, like I said, really good at what they do, but they have options now. I think that's part of the fun here with Fade ending up on this roster towards the end of the year. A talented player gives them more variety and has a specialty, and that's kind of exactly what you're going to see here. Tyrant's just going to play the big bad brawler. We know he's a mechanical god. Is Livy going to play a specialty of his, and Fade going to work it with the tank?
Yeah, I mean, as Livy Sprout, extremely potent. Definitely something to be feared. Whew. Okay, if Sands and Zar had actually synced up there on that shot from the Larry and Laurie into the walking cane, it would have been a dead Sprout. Still, as Livy standing, Tyrant getting knocked out of mech here at the end. Yeah, Bobby is going to be an absolute menace on this Piper, but Sands is the first to fall, outranged by the Sprout.
That is a huge loss for STMN. Anytime you're in a 3v2 scenario at a professional level, it is really difficult to make a comeback, especially at this stage in the game, right? The fog hasn't even started closing in.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty ugly. STMN don't have a great mechanism for starting a fight here. They really don't have a great way of using Dimensional Door aggressively in general, based on their composition. So Zar would love to poke them down, but Sprout denies those opportunities by cutting off sightlines. As Livy has another super available. Wants to try and cut off the right to some degree. His Fade now, he's starting to get a little bit more confident in stepping up. With that montage available, you can block as many shots as you like, and yeah, the gas comes in and Tribe say, we've got this.
The early takedown really gave Tribe an advantage. The good news for them, too, is now they've got Fade with the super. They've got a hypercharge all ready for Livy. Huge deal. I mean, it is a monstrous kind of lead if you take a one-round victory, and then also in terms of equipment in your back pocket with those supers and gadgets. If you're leading there, too, it's really difficult for somebody like STMN to make a comeback.
So there it is. Bobby's sideline completely cut off. Tyrant can't do too much either, but probably happy for the opportunity to heal this mech back up before Bobby can knock him out. Now Bobby would like to pressure as Livy down, which can be a tougher matchup for Piper on this map. Again, given the presence of that super. Zar needs to find a way to make something happen, but the montage allows Fade to take a fair bit of space on the right. Tribe, though, seem to be happy just to wait, but his gas to start to encroach.
As Livy just barely tiptoed his way outside that Zar gadget. I thought that was going to be a nasty pull coming in, but not quite. A nice super used for Piper. Kind of had to at that point, exhausting that. Nice benefit here for Tribe. Another cutoff on the right-hand in, but Zar teleports in. He sees the matchup. That's what they're looking for. They want a Gray versus Sprout 1v1, and with all the teammates distracted, there's nothing they can do. Tyrant with the bounce back, though. Sands goes down. Fade cleans up. Tribe survive.
I feel like their composition, Kenny, is just that much better. I think Bobby there takes one last tick of damage because he walks into the gas as it starts to encroach there. But it took everything that STMN had at their disposal to deal with the mech, let alone the mech getting ejected from it. I think that was like the ideal situation for STMN, no? They managed to find a pick on the Sprout and still couldn't find a way to win.
The in-game scenario is just really difficult because you've got 10,000 some odd HP coming in from Fade. You've got 2 lives with Tyrant. This is a team equipped to deal with those zones closing in, despite all of the matchups that they had trouble with early on. I mean, with Sprout going down, a 2v3 is tough. You're right, though. They may just be built for this.
Walking Cane opens up the map a little bit, though, for Zar. Forces Tyrant now into the mid lane, away from that direct head-to-head against Bobby. Sands not too bothered about the hedge in general, but still decides to look to help mid out a little bit more as Livy wants to send some of those space carrots in. Sands takes 2 in a row here, pretty dangerous as Livy with another hedge available. Tyrant demeched here, Fade gets caught by the Walking Cane, but look at STMN. They're giving up so much space.
Three different brawlers is an impossible ask. STMN finally get around on the board.
And you can see their comp can do it, but it just seems like it takes so much more for STMN to win those rounds. Still a great start. They've got to hope that it's not a fluke. Despite winning that round, they do not come out with more supers. It's Tribe, of course, with the montage, and of course, the super swing for Tyrant available. Homemade Recipe came in there, caught as Livy, but no follow-up.
Bobby says enough is enough. Just going to try and open this map up a little bit more. As Livy doesn't really have a super he can take back now. He had the gadget, but because of that wall blow up, what's he supposed to claim? I think, honestly, a pretty smart play and might help Piper in the long run.
Bit of damage taken there by Bobby as he wants to aggress toward Tyrant. As Livy doesn't have a super available, but hypercharged super for Sprout less of a factor than the raw stats you get from it. A very narrow corridor to play through there as Tyrant does get yanked into a shot from the Piper down to less than 4k. Homemade Recipe also finds Fade. Zard doesn't have a super up, so he tries for a walking cane and doesn't get what he was looking for. Tyrant low, out of mech, but Zard gets pulled on him by the slow-mo replay. Now in a 2 versus 2, but the gas is starting to encroach. Bobby had a super up, but gets caught instantly by Livy. And this is going to be another Tribe Gaming round.
Wow. Tribe Gaming, one away from pushing us to a set number 5. This is going to test both these teams' mental fortitude. Tribe Gaming trying to make a comeback, but STMN trying to hold on. Just a glimpse away from the semi-final, but they're not there yet.
That hedge up mid forces Sands and Zar to split. Much of the map opened up at this stage. Remember, STMN around here makes them 1 apiece on knockout. Tyrant there tries to ward Bobby away. Holding onto that hypercharged super still. Bit of clumping up here from Tribe now as another hedge will shut that left-hand side down.
3 brawlers on each side, standing tall. Is Livy popping a hypercharge? I think just to get the extra stat boost, and might be close to a super here. I think that's a little bit of confidence coming in there, just a little aggression. Anything to push them away and give them some kind of advantage for positioning, but it fails. STMN are still around.
Now, there's no real way to punish the grouping up outside of the Larry and Laurie, but Sands doesn't really have the range to punish Tribe for this. Zar with a super up at least. Bobby pops the hypercharge now. Good little shot on Tyrant. Takes the mech down to half, but here comes the gas and begins to encroach. Zar TP's in, able to get away. One more shot on Livy will get the job done as Tyrant getting pressured down. Laurie gets the job done. Bobby now needs to group up with Sands to make this work. Fade down to 4k, but the gas comes in, and with 274 health, Fade stays alive and gives Tribe the chance now for a reverse sweep. It's 2 apiece in this series.
The dedication clear this month. These guys have obviously been grinding to understand this new meta, the new maps that we've got rolling out right now. And it all comes down to this. This is what we live for, Uber. A set 5 that determines both of these teams' destinies.
Yes, if Tribe Gaming win this set, then STMN are out of the postseason race. That means no Worlds, and it means no LCQ for that roster. If STMN win, Tribe are guaranteed to be headed to the LCQ, and STMN's destiny will still rest in their hands. It is, without question, the most important match that we have seen in NA this year. And we're jumping into Brawl Ball. It's time for center stage, and the Gale locked away instantly for Tribe.
Going to go for a brawler that's fantastic in this game mode, fantastic at anti-tank pressure, and I'm not just saying that because the man's my favorite. His hypercharge has given him another level up. However, I love Rico on this map in particular. Depends on how these walls stay up, but I think Rico's in a phenomenal spot in the game right now. I don't think he gets the love of something like a Frank, a Lily, a Meg, but nonetheless, I think deserves his flowers, and I think the DPS output, the super reach that he has, goes wild. Pairing that with an Amber,
so good.
Pretty nasty damage dealing composition so far.
Absolutely. Buster also has a 70% win rate on this particular map. A very sneaky strong pick here for either team to try and snap up. Meg obviously being banned away. Frank obviously not on the table either. Lily just being avoided here. I don't think either team really wants to go for them, but there is that Buster again. Tribe looking to potentially put Zulan or Fade in that position. And I think it's a pretty strong comp as well, but the Gale doesn't really seem to have a purpose yet.
The second STMNs went through, I was right there with you. I was pointing at my screen. I was pointing at the Tribe Gaming side, waiting for a Buster. This is wild, though. The Squeak coming in as a final pick in a set 5 against STMN, a brawler that's not at the top of the meta right now. I think it's clear Tribe Gaming don't want to break these walls. I think they want to use Squeak for that gadget and kind of piece control and area control. They've got Gale for defense, Fade that can kind of claim area control, depending on who plays this brawler, of course, they can swap out. But nonetheless, this is a bold call. This is not a meta pick.
It's a short-range composition in general here for Tribe. You're right, the residue gadget, pretty important for the Squeak to be able to slow people up. And an El Primo gets picked here for Sands to round out this setup. What on earth are we seeing?
This is wild. I think they had to adjust. I don't know if El Primo was in the original game plan, but when looking at it on paper, I'm not going to lie, Uber, I kind of like it. You know, the Squeak, I have question marks. I'm going to let them prove it to me. I'm not going to rule it out. These guys know the game better than anybody. But I do like the response of El Primo. It's going to do well into Squeak. I think the Primo versus Buster matchup, I don't mind that at all for El Primo. Gale's going to do great in the tanks in general, but they've got Rico and Amber who kind of answer and address that. This one's going to be back and forth. I don't know what's going to happen. Let's find out.
Here we go into center stage, folks. Now STMN with a very powerful damage dealer combo of Rico and Amber. rounded out with an El Primo. Zulan already taking a fair bit of that poke damage. That is going to be an issue for anyone challenging Rico on that left-hand side. Residue Gadget, though, slows Bobby down. The El Primo barely clinging to life here, and he knows he's done. Hoping to get some damage on the way out. But Zara's forced to use the Gadget now to try and force Tyrant back from this corner. This squeak damage is real. Zara almost gets caught in yet another one, and Fade's able to recover the ball, get it out from the corner, and back into the middle of the map.
Unbelievable footwork coming in from Zar there to survive all of that. Being cornered, and now it's the other end. Bobby diving in, getting one kill. Sands debating what to do with this ball, ultimately just going to rest it right here on this left-hand side. With these walls, he can guard it quite well, deliver it wherever he wants once again, and just hold on to a little positioning.
Tyrant steps up, has that Gale Force super available. Bobby has yet another super of his own. Might look to make use of it here, on towards the Gale. This is going to have to be a super from Tyrant in response. So that's drawn out from him, and Bobby's able to walk away. Montage thrown up for Fade. Pretty risky for Sands as he almost takes a bunch of his own damage, and again the Bobby super comes in. Doesn't quite know where to put himself though. At least is able to turn it into a trade onto Tyrant, but another Buster super shuts Zar down entirely. And Sands thinks about going aggressive. He just walks into this Fade damage.
Fade putting in work, and now Bobby forced to get desperate, dives in, doesn't get Fade though. He survives, 802 HP, and now he's rounding the corner.
This is bad.
Available to give him a momentum swing. He's got that gadget pre-popped, just misses the mark. He was either looking, I think, to grab that and throw it up, but just didn't have enough health points. Zulan not close enough to the ball to grab it. Now STMN can go the other way.
Sands is only going to have so many of those multi-ball launches available to get him out of jail for free. At least in that situation, it does salvage things for STMN. But out in the open is not where Rico wants to be. He's going to try and pop a super now with that hypercharge. Zulan, though, looking pretty healthy. Sands able to walk outside of that bomb. But Zulan's been a menace now in the middle part of the map, covering it with these super shots. Sands is going to go down again to the squeak.
The longer this drags out, the scarier it gets for Tribe. Part of the influence, I think, for this El Primo pick is also opening the map, because then they can dodge squeak shots easier. He's diving in, but Zulan survives. They've got this ball on their side. A super shot available for Zulan. Throws it down, connects with Bobby. He's going to slow it down just a bit. Sands can't survive. 3 members for Tribe all around this ball. Zor tries to throw it away. Bobby dives in, throws him over his shoulders. Can't rush to the ball in time. It's a wide open net. Fade with super available corners. It fires, connects. Fade with the bucket, and Tribe Gaming on match point.
And here it is, Tribe Gaming on the edge of pushing STMN out of the Brawl world this year. This is the last chance for this roster. They need to win this series to have any chance of going to LCQ. And they go up against an age-old rival, one that was ready for them. With a new player here. Fade on the Buster has been absolutely dominant. And this El Primo pick hasn't worked out so far. It's now or never for STMN.
This is a moment that all of Brawl Nation across the entire world are watching right now. 2-2, an El Clasico, an old rival facing each other when the stakes are highest. Sands firing down a super. Connects the Tyrant for a little bit, but not a ton here. This is part of the reason they end up making this selection, though. Why Fade is paid the big bucks. He's the man when it comes to Buster. Charging his way down this sideline here. A pass over to Tyrant. Dribbling, trying to work the angle, and Fade stuffs him to a corner. It's just Zar remaining, and Tribe get an early bucket.
One more goal and they will have this match tied up. They will have the reverse sweep. Tribe have come so far after being 0-2 down. And now it seems like they can't put a foot wrong. That was terrifying. Fade basically untouchable, constantly staying out of Bobby's range, making it impossible for the El Primo to get to grips. Look at him, down to 4k health and won't even be allowed to walk away. That's just brutal.
STMN with positioning, though. Tyrant trying to drag his team out of this one. It's just alone Zulan and Sands left. And in this 1v1, Zulan's got a super. He's going to lob it across, and it's going to slow down to Sands for a pickup. Bobby has just been kind of a meat shield so far. We haven't really been able to see him pop off yet. He's opening the map, but he's
going solo.
Takedowns. He kind of has to, though. They need to make sure they keep him off. Buy enough time for Zar here. I just feel like Stamina have been drawing their way up. They've been treading water. They haven't really been excelling or thriving yet.
Less than a minute left here in this round, and STMN need to at least equalize. That's just to get them on even footing. Bobby's in trouble here. No way he's going to be walking away from that constant slow damage in from Tyrant. Super pop there for Zar, trying to pressure this Gale down, but he's frosty enough to hold up in the heat. Fade comes back off respawn now, and Zulan's going to set the ball up right by his goal, daring STMN to come and try their luck. and they've got no choice but to try. Bobby has Hypercharge available, as does Sands. Here comes that super thrown out. Bobby diving on in here, looking to do a lot of damage. The Twister thrown up to try and break up the positioning of the El Primo here. Tyrant sitting on the other side of it, cackling evilly. Zah's able to at least get the ball. Bobby can't walk it in though. Fade too tanky. He gets it. The equalizer is there, and STMN are one apiece, staying alive in Brawl Ball.
Once these walls come down, Amber and Rico got a little bit of a matchup favor. Fade looking for a super here. He finds it. He's moving Amber into this corner. Bobby can't punch his way in there. A super pass.
He's done it!
With the back off, and they buried their rivals. Tribe Gaming continue forward. STMN are going home.
Absolute triumph on the face of Tribe Gaming. Oh man, you better believe they're feeling it. What a way to come back. This is the third consecutive month that STMN have exited in a 5-set series. It hurts. It hurts especially now that the dream for their even LCQ run is dead. The year is over for STMN, and Tribe now are online to potentially make it straight to Worlds.